Welcome back to the Kiwi Wedding Podcast. My name is Lydia and I'm your host and a wedding photographer based in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland. On today's episode, I'm chatting with a fellow wedding photographer, Harshpreet from the HP Collective. We touch on a bit of her experience as a bride recently and her multi-day Indian wedding. We go into a bit of the background of her starting her business, her style, her unique perspective and really supportive hands-on approach. We also talk a bit about the community she has created, the resources, recommendations and an upcoming live event. Harshpreet has created and is hosting the Bridal Lunch, a beautiful event in an intimate setting with fellow brides, vendors, good food, loads of connection. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to be there. I hope you can come along. I would love to meet you and chat to you. It's such a cool thing that Harshpreet has created and I'll let her tell you all about it. So enjoy episode 57 with Harshpreet. Hi Harshpreet. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. So excited to chat to a fellow photographer and pretty recent bride as well. All about your experience, your business, and some exciting plans coming up.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Awesome. So we'll touch a bit on your wedding first.
We had a multicultural wedding. So he is South Indian Tamil. I am North Indian Punjabi. So we both had a bit of a fusion wedding and it felt like a month, but I think it was actually only 2 weeks. So our first wedding week was in New Zealand, and that was like the big Punjabi Indian wedding week. And then we had maybe 2 days of just chilling in New Zealand. After that we flew to India, Chennai, for the next portion of the wedding. So that was the Tamil and the South Indian wedding. That was quite fun as well.
Had you guys dreamed about your wedding? Did you have a specific vision and vibe in mind? Obviously you gave us a bit of an overview of what that looked like, and it was more than just one day for you. But yeah, what were those sort of initial chats, first steps with planning? Yeah, finding venues, all of that.
At times I do wish I had just hired a wedding planner, and I thought that would have made my life a little bit easier, but I was also like, oh, I can do this. I've planned so many things, like, oh, surely I can do a wedding, right? But no, it was really fun though. So I guess a week of festivities, they all had a different theme. So our first event was something called a Sangeet, and that's basically a whole lot of dancing and celebrating the start of the wedding week. Usually the bride side of the family do a lot of performances, so do the groom side. So we had been preparing our performances for the last few months or so. And it was really cute because my parents and their friends also got involved. So they prepared little performances for the day as well. And we had like a disco theme. That was the vibe that we were going with. So it was like a fusion Indian disco theme on that day. And then after that, we had our Mambi night, and that's basically when you apply the henna on the bride. And by the way, my henna took like 7 hours, so that was fun. Just sitting there. But good thing my henna artist was so amazing. Like, she was just so easy to talk to. So that made the whole process less kind of boring, I would say. And then after that, all your friends and family come, lots more dancing. You got like a lot of food out, a lot of drinks, and everyone gets their henna done as well. And that one, we had, the theme of that one was like Rajasthani. So that was like our second event. Our third event was our haldi, and that's basically when you apply like a turmeric paste to the bride and the groom. Traditionally, everyone would wear yellow because it resembles the turmeric paste, and I was like, let's do it Amalfi Coast themed because lemons are quite nice. And yeah, so I did ours Amalfi Coast themed. We had some lemons, and it was a nice little brunch. So that's our third event. Fourth event was our main wedding day. So that was a Sikh ceremony. The vibe for that one I always had was Indian Bridgerton, because I was so obsessed with all the tones and, all the beautiful florals and decorations that I saw in Bridgerton. So I wanted to have something similar. Not too much, but like just subtle hints of it. And that was, yeah, it was really fun. Our wedding day, we got married at Hedges Estate, and it is such a beautiful venue. They've got like peacocks. If you are lucky, you might be able to see them. They've got lots of horses and stuff, so it's really nice. And then typically for Indian weddings, you wouldn't just have your reception the same day. Some people do, but we chose to have our reception party the next day, and that was at Cordis. That was really fun as well. And the theme for that one was Indian Met Gala. So I just wanted everyone to dress up however they wanted, really, as fancy as they wanted to be. Yeah, so that was kind of our wedding week summed up. Planning for it, I did everything myself with the help of my friends. We made like a few DIY decorations, and we also got like I don't know, it just feels like we got really crafty leading up to the wedding week. We even did our wedding invites ourselves, which was really fun to do if you are into like DIY sort of stuff. Yeah.
So good. Sounds like a lot to organize, but an
A
amazing
lot.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
yeah, what were the sort of most important elements for you when it came to all the celebrations?
The biggest priority was actually photography and videography. And my second priority was my makeup and clothing and everything. So we actually took a month-long trip to India. We went to India for a month, I think 5 months before the main wedding week kicked off, just to get all of our outfits. So that was mine, my partner's, my whole family's. So yeah, that was quite nice to be able to do that, because it felt like a holiday, but we were actually being somewhat productive.
Yeah, that was my next question about your outfits. How was that whole process? Was it quite smooth doing it that way?
Yeah, I guess the vendors that I chose to work with in India, they were very understanding of the time constraints, because a lot of the times people actually book their outfits years in advance, which is actually kind of crazy. So they would be like, oh, if you're a December bride, you would typically be coming in, say, around January or February. And I was like, oh, okay, here I am, like in July, trying to make sure I can still get my wedding outfit. Yeah, but it was okay. It was pretty smooth. They are very good at what they do, especially because in India, weddings are like such a big deal. They do prioritize them over other events at times. So I got quite lucky in that sense. Yeah.
Cool experience to go and do that. And yeah, just get them all like authentically made over there. Love that.
Absolutely.
And you've given us a bit of an overview, but yeah, can you tell us about how the week went and yeah, any like highlights or favorite moments?
Yeah. So the week, like, just like any other wedding week or wedding day, you will find certain hurdles like to navigate. And luckily, I had some really amazing friends and family to look after those hurdles for me. It was still such an incredible week. I would not change anything. I think it's just like when you look back at it, maybe 5 months or 6 months from the day of your big day, you start thinking, oh my God, okay, I don't know why I was, freaking out over the way like a certain vase was placed on a table. Like that was not that really wasn't that big of a deal. So it's been nice having that additional appreciation for people mostly. I think the best part about our wedding week was how close we all got in terms of our relationships. When you go through a wedding with those around you, and especially when they're helping you with some of the tasks and stuff, yeah, you develop like a special bond with them, and you become a lot closer, which was really nice. yeah, it was a fun time, and I wish I could do it all over again, but with the same person, of course.
And was there, what was like the hardest part about wedding planning? Is there anything that you look back on and regret or would do a little bit differently?
I feel like I would have days where I would do so much productive planning work and, reach out to a million vendors and all of that sort of stuff. But I just wish I had maybe given myself like 3 tasks a day, and that would be enough leading up to my big day, or big week. Because by that time I would have done everything and I wouldn't be like rushing a lot of things and getting a lot of last minute ideas.
Such a hard thing to balance when you're working or running a business. And yeah, it's a massive thing to plan. I don't know, this might be a hard one for you to answer about the budget if you even want to go into that, because I know it's a lot of family contribution sometimes, especially with these multiple celebrations. But did you have like a set budget, or what was that process like?
I guess I was very, very fortunate, because my parents paid for the whole thing, from outfits to jewelry to decor to like just everything. They covered everything. We didn't really have a budget, I guess, which is something you should definitely have. And it is something that you'll realize halfway through planning that, oh, it's probably a good idea to have a budget just so I'm not overspending on certain things or underspending on others.
I guess so many events and moving parts, it would be like a lot to keep track of.
Yeah, but I did, I guess, keep a spreadsheet, with all vendors, just for all vendors for all events as well. Like I would have a separate sheet for every event, and I'd keep a log of who we need to pay and how much we need to pay, and that kind of gave me a good idea of what this whole week was going to cost. None of that, of course, included, shopping for clothes and like random unexpected expenses. Like it's so funny. My mum's like really into clothes. She probably has better taste when it comes to Indian clothes than I do. And so we had bought this outfit from India and I was meant to wear it to my Sangeet, but my mum was just kind of like, yeah, I don't think it's doing what we thought it would do. So I was like, oh, okay. And so she buys me this, so we call it a langa, which is basically a long full skirt with a top, and you carry like a little scarf with it. The scarf is called the dupatta. So she ordered a new one and online, from the shop called Pernier's Pop Up, and this was maybe a week before everything started. So we were frantically trying to figure out if it would arrive on time, if I would have the right jewelry for it. And it ended up arriving a day before the event. And on top of that, it had like a crazy, ridiculous customs charge on top because my mum didn't realize that anything over um, like I think it's anything over $1,000 has an additional tax applied to it. And so it was just like those sort of things that just kept coming up, and we didn't realize what we were paying for, and got quite messy towards the end. But we were just kind of like, oh, let's just do it, whatever.
So many like unexpected things that come up. But yeah, and I'm sure there is a resource out there of for like a multi-day celebration. I know there's a few different like budgeting templates, and we've shared one before. It can be super helpful, but then so understandable, it just gets out of hand in the end. And did you guys go on honeymoon straight away? And
We
what did that look
did.
like?
Yeah, so one of my like I've always wanted to go to the city called Jaipur, and that's in India. And because we were in India at the time for our second week, it just made sense to go straight from there to Jaipur. And so I think we spent maybe a week in Jaipur, and that was quite nice because I got to see all like the pretty monuments that I've always wanted to see, explore the cafes and the bars that I saw on Pinterest. So it was nice to finally check them out. And I think it was not too hot, which was perfect. We also had a driver who just took us everywhere, and so that made the whole process very easy as well. thank gosh I did not have to plan any of that because my partner planned all of that, and that was, yeah, that was quite nice to just be able to go and have a proper holiday.
Yeah, I bet you're a bit exhausted by then as well.
Yeah.
Were there any like helpful websites or apps, different resources that you used during the whole planning process?
Yeah, so I did try and do a little bit of digging whenever I got stuck. Facebook groups helped somewhat, but I just felt really awkward chucking up an anonymous post like every Friday. Um, and it was just kind of like, oh, I don't, yeah, maybe I shouldn't do that. And Pinterest helped a lot. So I didn't have any specific websites, but I would just use Pinterest as my search engine when it came to weddings. Um, yeah, I wish that there were more user-friendly resources available, especially for planning like a big Indian wedding. Because a lot of the times I was like, what are things that I don't know? I don't know the things that I don't know, you know?
Yeah. Oh, those are some classics that are helpful, but yeah, that's interesting insight as well. And from like a bride's perspective, I guess, do you have any advice that you would give to couples planning their wedding at the moment?
Yeah, definitely. Have a budget. So definitely try and have a budget. It keeps you accountable as well, and it keeps you from overspending and, you know, spending in the right areas. The other thing would be to stagger your planning and not have days where you just do a full planning day and then you just take a, you know, massive rest for a week and then you get back into it next week. That's going to get way more draining than just doing a few tasks every day and just kind of chipping away at it.
Yeah, that's some great advice, I think. So important to try and like stagger out the planning or like book certain times in your calendar, I guess, because it can get really stressful and overwhelming. What is married life like now? Do you feel like you got any of the post-wedding blues?
Yes, oh my goodness, it is such a real thing, eh? After you get married, you and also because I work in the industry, I'm like always so excited whenever anyone's talking to me about their wedding, and I can't help but be like, you know, passing on a little bit of advice. I, sometimes, actually, most of the time, they're pretty happy to take it. So I'm like, okay, here you go. Yeah, no, 100%. I am still like, oh, you know, I wish I had not done this, or I wish I had done this. And it's just, it's nice. But I think I've reached a point where I'm just appreciating what an incredible week it was, slash, couple of weeks. And it's just nice because I think more than the wedding itself, when you look at your life after you get married, you're essentially living with a whole new person, well, not a whole new person, but you're living with someone who you've always been super close to. I think, no, weddings are really fun, and I'm so grateful that I get to shoot them every every year. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. So cool to hear a bit of your experience. And yeah, is there anything else you want to add there, or we'll go into talking about business and other things a bit more?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about business. I love business.
Yeah, so can you tell me a bit of your business background, I guess, how you got into photography, a bit of your journey that's led you to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. So I guess my background's actually engineering. I did engineering for however long that was, and then I got a full-time job and I really enjoyed it. It was heaps of fun and got to be quite technical at times, which is amazing. And then randomly, I guess during COVID, I kind of decided that I want something else alongside what I'm doing now, which at the time, which was just working a 9 to 5. So I started with product photography, and I got this amazing opportunity to work with some really amazing small business owners and also some of the larger businesses within New Zealand. And I created some cool product photos as well as videos for them. Slowly I realized that it's kind of boring when you work with products because they don't really interact with you. So, and I was kind of like, oh, I don't know how I feel about taking photos of my room all day. Maybe I need to do something else. So I started, I guess, doing these model calls on my Instagram, being like, does anyone want photos? Like, I wanna know what it's like to take photos of people. And so I did quite a few of those, and I really, really enjoyed the process. I just thought it was so much fun being able to interact with people who were kind of like quite like-minded. They were just as creative, they were just as passionate about photos, so that was really nice. And then I did this thing where I organized a bit of a shoot with some makeup artists, and it was a Bridgerton theme inspired shoot, and it was Indian Bridgerton because season 2 of Bridgerton just came out. And so I took a whole heap of content, like behind the scenes and the final photos and the final video, so on and so forth. So I kept posting about it on my social media. And then I think someone came across the photos and they were like, hey, do you do weddings? And I was like, oh. This can be fun. And so we got chatting, and we were talking about her big day, and I tried to be as professional as it possibly could. Like, I made a little timeline for her in a Google Drive form, and I sent it to her, and I was like, can you please fill this out for me? And it was just those little things that I did, and it was just probably one of my most favorite weddings of all time because they were just so, so lovely, and they were very appreciative of everything. Um, and then after that, I sent them the photos, and they absolutely loved them, and I loved them too. So I was like, oh, yeah, I could do more. I could do more. And so I started doing more weddings, and I really, really enjoyed the process. And so April last year, I decided to become a full-time wedding photographer, and I haven't looked back since. So I think I've just completed a year and a bit of full-time self-employment. That was a journey.
Congrats.
But yeah, thank you.
So cool to hear a bit more about that background. And I love that. It's really like organic growth. And yeah, you've obviously got really beautiful work. So good.
Oh,
Can
thank
you
you.
tell us a bit about your kind of vibe and style, how you like to work, and yeah, what sort of clients that you love working with?
Yeah, so I guess like I would like to say I've got a pretty cinematic, authentic slash editorial with a touch of Bollywood inspiration thrown in there sort of vibe. That's a lot of words. So I really try and blend the grandeur of Indian weddings with a modern and minimalistic approach. I feel like that is the trend that we are heading towards because previously you would have seen Indian weddings where people don't use many fresh florals, it's fake florals, or there isn't a whole lot done with decor and that sort of thing. And that's probably many years ago. And now I feel like times are definitely changing. And it's so cool to see that. And yeah, so that's the kind of overall vibe I have with my editing and approach and stuff like that. The other thing is I tend to be very hands-on with everything that I'm doing. So yes, delegating is so amazing, but I struggle with that a little bit. So I do like to be heavily involved with a lot of things, even planning. So quite often the couples that I work with, I do like to give them advice here and there on vendors that they should consider working with, because they have experience in South Asian weddings, so they understand how the whole dynamic works. Which is always helpful. I create timelines with them for them, and I think beyond that, I'm just someone at I'm more than a photographer on their wedding day. I do try and keep everyone calm around me. A lot of times, their families get a little bit, oh, oh, our daughter's getting married or our son's getting married, getting a bit emotion, which is so normal and so authentic to see. So I love capturing those moments as well, and I love kind of being the person that's, I wouldn't say part of the family, but more like close enough to the family to be like, hey guys, it's all good. Here's a coffee. Yeah, so that's kind of my overall approach.
Yeah, I love that. You've definitely got a like beautiful energy that you would bring to the
Oh,
day. And
thank you.
yeah, I think that's such an important part of the job as well. Just being like a calming presence and still
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like in
absolutely.
control. And yeah, super important helping with that whole planning experience as well. So cool that you've had your own wedding planning experience and then worked with lots of couples as well, which yeah, you just have so much valuable advice. And I know you have some really cool resources on your website, so we'll definitely link to some of those so people can check them out. You sort of have like a specific interest, expertise, whatever you want to call it, in photographing South Asian weddings. Can you talk a bit about that, how they are unique? I mean, we've kind of heard all about your experience, but yeah, just a bit more about how you support specifically those couples.
Sure. So I guess the first one being, it's not just a day, it's usually a week. And it's intertwined with so many beautiful traditions and ceremonies, and it's all kind of in prep for the big day. So you'd typically have 3 to 4 pre-wedding events, then you'd have your wedding, and then you might have a post-wedding event, which is typically the reception. And some people have an event after that as well, and that could just be more of a traditional sort of prayer or something like that. Um, I guess it's like though that's kind of the big thing on why they are so unique and so special in their way. Lots of events, lots of traditions, and it's nice to be able to honor those traditions and ceremonies even in this day and age. So I really, really enjoy that about capturing a lot of South Asian weddings. In terms of, I guess, like the resources that I have available and how I like to go a little bit above and beyond for that community in particular is I've created a Facebook page, and that's called the South Asian Wedding Collective. You have all sorts of couples in there as well who ask questions from time to time, and it's just nice to be able to have that community there. The other one is a blog that was created, and that's called Viva. So Viva actually means wedding in Hindi. So I just wanted to be quite simple in translation, and I post some bits and pieces on there as well. We dive deeper into some of the traditions on why certain traditions are done and what they actually mean, and because quite often a lot of people don't actually know why they're doing those things, and I was one of them. And so it's only after the wedding where I'm like, okay, why did we actually do that? Like, surely there's more people wondering, what those things mean. So I do create blog posts around them as well. And yeah, I guess from time to time you'll see me creating these little PDFs. My latest one is a timeline planner for Indian weddings. The one before that was just a full Indian wedding planner, and that was called the Indian Wedding Workbook, which is quite nice as well. So these sort of resources, I love creating them, and that's simply because I just feel like there's so much that we can do when it comes to offering the right knowledge and offering the right sort of solutions to those who are on that journey. Because sometimes I just feel like when I was on that journey, I didn't have these things. So it's nice to be able to create them for those who are on that sort of path now.
So cool that you've built this community. Yeah, just to have that. Is it specifically for South Asian weddings in New Zealand as well, or kind of like applies everywhere?
Absolutely. So it would be generic enough to apply to all Indian weddings. I guess the thing that makes it specific to New Zealand is the vendor recommendations. So obviously, it would just be the vendors that are around Auckland or beyond, just so it's easy for everyone.
So cool. I bet you have a lot of people coming to you for vendor recommendations. And in your opinion, what should people in general kind of look for when they're trying to choose a wedding photographer?
The big one is the style. So there's so many different styles of photography, and something that suits someone might not suit the other person. So being sure of what style of photography it is that you actually like, and you can get style inspiration from Pinterest or wedding magazines. Together Journal's quite nice for that as well. So even Vogue weddings are quite cool. Yeah, having that idea in mind and what sort of style you prefer. The next one would be conscious of how many photographers you'll be getting with the package that you pick. It's always nice to be able to get a lot more angles than you would think you need. Portfolio, that's a huge one. Making sure that you've actually gone through your photographers' galleries and seeing what full galleries look like, and being mindful of what a styled shoot is versus what an actual wedding day gallery is. No, I have another one, personality. Oh, so important. You being able to get along with your photographer for your big day, that's probably one of the most important things that you'll be doing, because if you don't get along with them, it'll show on your face and it'll show in the photos, and we don't want to do that. So ideally someone that you can have a good laugh with, someone that you can resonate with. I think that's quite important.
Love that. So good. All that advice. Totally agree. It's like they're going to be one of the people that are with you through the whole day, week, whatever. Like they're around you a lot of the time. So you really want to get on with them and find someone you click with. That's such an important one.
Yeah, especially if you've got them for a whole week. Like, imagine you don't get along with them and you've got them every single day.
Really, like ruin your week a little bit.
Yeah. Exactly.
So good. You've given so much amazing advice already, but yeah, is there any other advice that you would give to couples planning at the moment from like a photographer's perspective?
Prioritizing your calm on your big day. I think that is so important. If you are getting a little bit antsy about certain things, if you're getting stressed in the moment, it will show on your face, and that will show on photos as well. So sure, you might have some photos where you're being asked to smile a bit more and stuff like that, but that's not always authentic. You want to be genuinely happy for your big day, and you don't want to be stressing out about these smaller things like vase placements and random shit like that. Yeah, so just prioritizing your calm and trying to be stress free on your big day, which is, I guess, easier said than done, but I'm sure there are more resources available and trying to achieve that.
Yeah, so good. Such an important one. Love that. And you are planning a really exciting event coming up end of August, the Bridal Lunch. And yeah, I'd love you to tell us a bit more about that, how the idea came to you, and yeah, why you wanted to do it.
Absolutely. So I guess when I was planning my own wedding last year, I just found the whole process to be quite isolating. I didn't have many friends who had been in that sort of journey before, and so they weren't really able to share, tips and tricks and what to expect and some of the emotions that you'll feel and stuff like that. So I found it to be quite challenging in that sense, because it just felt like I was not able to relate to a lot of people at that point in life. And I joined a lot of community groups, and I joined pretty much every wedding group imaginable, and it just felt like I was so out of touch with, not out of touch, but I still did not feel like there was that connection. I couldn't just message someone randomly being like, hey, or maybe I could have, but I was a bit shy, so I didn't want to do that. I couldn't just be like, hey, do you want to grab a coffee? I'm struggling with this and I don't know what to do with it. So what are your thoughts? I couldn't just do that. I also went to a lot of wedding fairs, thinking that I would get pick up something from them, surely. But I just felt like they were more centered around vendors and being sold a service and that sort of thing, which is nice, which is wonderful in its own way. But that just wasn't what I was after. And quite often I would just go to them on my own, because I was just like, oh, I found this event like a day day ago, so I'm just going to go to it and see what happens. And a lot of the times at these events, you know, you'll have the brides coming with a friend or their partner or their family, so you couldn't exactly tap on their shoulder being like, hi, you're a bride, right? Like, how are you feeling about this and this? So I couldn't do that. Or maybe you could if you're an extrovert and you're good at those things. I'm not, so I didn't want to do that. Yeah, so that's kind of the whole reason why this whole lunch idea came together. I just felt like we were missing an in-person community, which was for brides, and it was for those that are planning their wedding. Because it's such a, although it can be unique, you know, because of the type of wedding that you're having, but the baseline is quite similar. You're getting married, you've got those sort of emotions, and you don't know what to do with them. You don't know how to deal with them. The other thing is, I just found that because a lot of my friends did not have experience with weddings, they weren't really able to help with vendors and stuff. Like, they wouldn't know who's a good vendor to go to. They wouldn't know who's a vendor not to go to, you know, like the two ends. So that's pretty much why this whole lunch event was created. So the bridal lunch, it's happening on the 24th of August at the French Cafe, which is a really beautiful venue, by the way, if you've ever thought about having your wedding there. So it's just a special event which is created for brides to connect, share ideas, find inspiration, and of course, gain a lot of valuable tips, which will be passed on by our guest speakers lineup, which is very exciting. You do walk away with a really cool goodie bag. We've got some incredible sponsors on board for that one, and there's like, it's just pretty much a mini wedding at this point, because I've been going through all the mood boards that all the vendors are sending me, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, this is becoming a mini wedding. I can't wait. So think of it as an elevated networking event for brides. You get to enjoy a really beautiful gourmet lunch, which is prepared by the chefs at the French Cafe. You'll interact with your wedding experts, and of course, most importantly, have that connection with those that are on the same journey as you, which is the brides to be. Yeah, so I guess that's what's going to make it a very supportive and fun event.
I love that. So exciting. It's so cool that you've just created this thing that's a bit more intimate connection. And yeah, I know, like you say, some of those wedding expos and stuff, they are amazing and they have their place, but they can feel really overwhelming or salesy.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're not necessarily going to find that, yeah, direct connection with people who are just, yeah, they're on a mission or whatever. So such a cool event. So excited to see it in person and see it all play out. Yay. So cool for people to hear about. And yeah, I just love that you've cultivated that community. And yeah, you've already said a lot, but anything else you want to say about why you think that's so important? Just yeah, finding people that are in that same season, connecting with them, doing it together.
I just think it's so important because, well, at the start, you know, when you've been proposed to and it's all happy days and, you know, you're all giddy for weeks on end and about marrying the love of your life and stuff like that. But very quickly it does turn into overwhelm. And that is because of the planning side of it. I guess having a community there will give you some sort of support as you are going through your journey, making it less stressful for you and more of an enjoyable process, which is so important. You want to be able to enjoy the journey that you're on instead of making, you know, rash decisions just so you can get it all over and done with. Because quite often we think of the end goal being you having a good time at your wedding day or your wedding week. But to get there, we need to also be thinking about how to get there. And if we rush those things, the impact of that wouldn't always be what you thought it would be. So yeah, I guess just that's why I believe in having a strong sense of community within the within the wedding space, especially for brides.
So important. And I think sometimes people get engaged and all their family and friends are super excited for them and like really supportive, but it's not their day. And yeah, sometimes you can feel like oh, why don't people care about my wedding as much as I do? Like, of course, they're not going to. But I think
Exactly.
finding people that are actually going through it at the same time, like there's groups for mums or parents when they have a baby or these kind of seasons in your life. So why isn't there like bride groups? That's
Exactly, and if you really think about it, it's one of those events that it's an event that predominantly happens once in your life, and you wanna have the right sort of support throughout that event because it's not an easy journey to be on, as blissful as it may be, as, exciting as it may be, it can be quite overwhelming, and I mean, I'm sure many brides would be able to relate with that, that it's not all just happy days, especially when planning.
so true. And it's not just that one day or 1 week of celebrations, it's that whole journey leading up to it. And yeah, so just having people to go through that with you. So good. It's been so lovely to have you on and chat to you today. Is there anything you want to add as we wrap up?
Definitely consider joining us for the bridal lunch on the 24th of August. It'll be a really beautiful event, one of its kind, I feel. And yeah, good luck with your journey, whatever part of your journey you're on. Good luck with that. And I'm sure Lydia's got so many resources available to help you with that as well. Follow up with your vendors because your vendors are there to help you and they want to help you. So if you are ever struggling with anything, please don't feel like you can't reach out to them because you absolutely can.
We're here for you. So
We're here for
good.
you.
Love that. Amazing. And we'll, yeah, put links to the event and all your resources and work in the show notes and on Instagram. So definitely everyone go and check them out and yeah, check out Harshpreet's work because it is stunning. Thank you so much for coming
Yay!
on.
Thank you so much, Lydia. This was so much fun.